The Sox took the L last night. The Dodgers got in the win column. Now let's talk about tonight.
Last night was wild.
Like, I fell asleep very early.
Oh my God, I fell asleep early too. And I wake up, it's still on. You're like, what the hell happened in the ninth inning between the Red Sox?
Yeah.
Right?
7 runs.
And the Astros, yeah, for sure. I mean, hell, you could say the same thing if you fell asleep really early, late in that Braves-Dodgers game as well. You thought the Braves had it. Dodgers not so fast. Okay, Garion, what's your favorite DFS play in Game 5 today between Houston and Boston?
Yeah, I think when you look at the classic slate, while there's definitely positional value on both sides, this is probably going to be another high-scoring game between these two teams. I think the Astros are pretty underpriced across the board. I mean, you can get someone like Alex Bregman in your lineup for $4,300. And this is someone who, for his career, has a 981 OPS and a 163 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. However, I think the one guy that really stands out to me on the Astros side of things is Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker not only led the Astros in expected WOBA against left-handed pitching this season at .415 as a left-handed batter, but he's also incredible against right-handed pitching. He had a 900 OPS against both right-handed pitchers and left-handed pitchers during the regular season, and I think that's really important because I don't think Chris Sale is going to last very long in this game, even if Chris Sale is pitching well. So you're probably going to see Kyle Tucker have to go up against an assortment of guys out of that Boston bullpen, and he's really someone who does not have a weak split. I think his value is so much higher now that he's been penciled into the 6th spot as opposed to the 7th spot. I think Kyle Tucker is probably the best play on this slate.
Okay. What do you think here, Matty?
So I agree with Garion on the pricing dynamics. The Astros are underpriced, but I also think Chris Sale is underpriced. And I think that sentiment that Garion just laid out about Chris Sale and how he won't be in the game for very long, I think that is what most people are going to think. And the reason Sale's been getting taken out of games early, and granted, it's just 2 starts, right? Like, this is only 2 playoff appearances. He hasn't gone deep in games because he just hasn't pitched well. He gave up 5 runs in an inning to the Rays, and he was struggling through Game 1 against the Astros. If he's good, I think he stays in. It's not like the Red Sox have bullpen depth. They just used Nathan Eovaldi out of the bullpen in last night's game. So I think if Sale looks good, they'll let him go. And it could actually be a leverage play because I do think a lot of people will play the Dodgers tonight, but the Astros could be the most popular stack just because they're really cheap. It's easy to fit them in. So I think Sale actually is a leverage play as much as you can get for a 2-game slate because it is a little hard to find those kinds of opportunities sometimes. But I think Sale could be this slate's best pitcher, and he probably won't be drafted like one.
All right, Sportsbook time. Matt, how about your favorite bet from this one?
I have less of an opinion on the betting lines here. Like, I really think the lines are fair. And I actually had planned to, before we came on, say, like, the under actually seemed kind of appealing to me. Under 9.5 was at -105. And in the last 10 minutes, it's actually flipped where the under is down to -115. So I don't know if I like it as much there. It was only really just a lean anyway. But I do think the market has kind of just assessed these teams properly. The Red Sox are rightfully favored in this game just by a little bit. The total is 9.5. I think maybe it should be 9, but this is pretty much spot on.
Garion, favorite bet in the Sox-Astros game?
I mean, while I agree with Matt that Chris Sale definitely is probably in a vacuum the most talented pitcher on this slate and that he will be a variance play because people probably don't want to play him, one bet I really want to back is Chris Sale under 14.5 outs recorded. I don't think this is really a matter of how well Sale pitches. I think he could possibly throw 3 or 4 scoreless innings in this game and still not see the 5th inning just because of the way he's been utilized so far this season. Again, this is someone coming off Tommy John surgery. The last time Chris Sale threw 90 pitches in a game was September 1st. He has not thrown 100 pitches in a game since 2019. I just don't think there's all that much volume you can pencil in for someone like Sale, especially considering not only are the Astros the best statistical offense against left-handed pitching in all of baseball, they also just take a lot of pitches. They have the 3rd lowest swing rate in the entirety of baseball. I think they're going to work counts, and I just don't see Sale working all that deep. Again, even if he's successful, because I think you could make the case he wasn't actually that bad in Game 1 of this series. He just got to a point where Alex Cora decided, I don't want to see Chris Sale throw any more pitches. And whether that's a health concern, whether that's just not being able to trust him the 3rd time through an order, I don't know. But I just don't envision Sale pitching past the 5th inning in this game.
Gary, let's go over to the NLCS now. What's your favorite DFS play in this Braves and Dodgers contest? We saw Bellinger and Betts combining to drive in, 4 runs in a potentially season-saving 8th inning in Game 3?
Yeah, it was impressive stuff, and I think there is some value to be had here with the left-handed bats in the lower half of the Dodgers order, but if you ask me if I can just have one bat or one player in this game, it's chalky, but it has to be Corey Seager. Seager's been on absolute fire right now. He's got a home run in each of his last 2 games, and if Ynoa does end up starting this game, and I'm pretty sure he's going to, they haven't officially announced it yet, but left-handed bats were his big issue to close the season. His last 7 starts, a .606 slugging percentage to opposing left-handed hitters. Seager is the left-handed hitter in the top half of the Dodgers order, and he's just been nightmare fuel for the Braves in the playoffs. He has 7 home runs in the 10 playoff games he's played against the Atlanta Braves. It's pretty impressive stuff. So yeah, I accept that it's chalky. I understand that, but the matchup here is just too good to pass up.
Matt, what direction are you going in here for your favorite DFS play? Up.
There we go.
There we
go. We had a mute. I don't think Seager will be as chalky as Garion thinks, actually, because you have Xander Bogaerts and Carlos Correa in the other game. So all of those guys, I think, will, it'll just get spread out amongst them. I like all of those choices. For this game specifically, I think Freddie Freeman actually goes pretty overlooked because, number one, you have Cody Bellinger for so much cheaper. And the Dodgers have some expensive hitters. If you want to play them, you need the cheaper guys. Bellinger's only 3,300. So, to me, that is the value play on this slate. And I think people will just play him at first base because there aren't a lot of first basemen to choose from. There's a lot more outfielders, so it's easier to just slot Bellinger in the first base slot. And I also think most people are playing Julio Urias in what probably looks like the safest spot for anyone. But Urias appeared as a reliever a few days ago. It's definitely a trend across the playoffs that starting pitchers are not really going deep in games. So I don't think anyone's safe. For me to pick Sale, it's mostly a contrarian thing. There's upside, but of course, he could go 2 innings if he's not pitching well. I think the same is true for Julio Urias if he's not doing well either. So Freeman gets you some leverage there. And I also just think the way the positional pricing breaks down, Bellinger will be a more popular choice. Yuli Gurriel will be a more popular choice. And Freeman's up there at 4,500. Just doesn't seem very appealing, I think, to most people. But he's Freddie Freeman. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. It's a 2-game slate. And if he's less than 20% owned or something, I think that's really appealing.
All right, Matt, your favorite bet from this Braves-Dodgers game is?
So, yeah, I didn't like much from that first game betting-wise. But for this game, I really do like the over. I think that Urias is probably not going to give the Dodgers that much length. And I think Huascar Ynoa is not as good of a pitcher as people think he is. He's a guy who can get some strikeouts, but the Dodgers have such a good offense, and even without Max Muncy, I think they will put up some runs. I think the Braves should be able to put up some runs. This is a game between 2 good offenses in a decent hitter's park, and the pitching matchup, I think, is mediocre, maybe slightly above average. The total's only 8 runs. That's really what this comes down to, and I think that in reality, the 2 games today should have very similar totals, and the Braves and Dodgers one is just kind of deflated for whatever reason.
All right, Garion, where are you going with this?
Yeah, I would echo what Matt was saying from a DFS capacity about Urias. I think that he's going to be incredibly chalky because he has the highest floor, but, what is a high floor on a 2-game playoff slate, especially in 2021? However, when we take out ownership, I think that I do like the prop Urias to get a win in this game at plus 180. It seems like there's a lot of value there considering what the Dodgers will be on the money line when the actual pitching matchup is shown tonight. He only has to throw 5 innings, and I do think the Dodgers are going to be able to score off Ynoa, who is without question the worst pitcher pitching today. So there's going to be early run support. Hopefully there's enough of a cushion where the Dodgers and Dave Roberts feel like they don't have to pull an early trigger with someone like Urias, who, again, I don't think he's the best pitcher in baseball by any means, but statistically he was one of the best pitchers in the second half of the season. He's very, very good. It, again, just comes down to strange bullpen management so far in the playoffs. But with a bit of the burden removed of being down 3-0 as opposed to only being down 2-1, I don't think the Dodgers have to be super, super quick to pull him out of a game at the first sign of trouble. So I do think he throws 5 innings, and I think by that point, the Dodgers have a pretty comfortable lead.